Okay, very good. Well, we've got more association here. We've got Kat and Abhinavar and Kelly Karambanana. That doesn't mean it shouldn't be another way around if we follow Vaishnava etiquette. But because it's so rare to see Kat from Australia, we can introduce you all to Kat, who makes really, truly the best ice creams and ice cream cake in the world.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you.
There are no Italians around me, so I can say that.
They're all sleeping.
They are, but I invited Munindra to come for this morning. And he can actually hear because he can hear everything. But as Guru Maharaj says, what is more important, the consciousness or the ear. So we can have an ear, but it may not be connected to our consciousness. Guru Maharaj says we may be unmindful. Somebody may pass by us, but we don't notice when we're unmindful. And actually, we do not know what happens when we sleep. And even Lord Brahma sleeps with quite a dramatic effect when he goes to sleep. Because we all go to sleep too. The whole of the universe sleeps for a while. Anyway, Kat, welcome. This is a humble gathering today, very humble gathering of devotees. And we're just simply trying to discuss, actually, not only what are the basics, but what is the whole framework of spiritual life. And we've discussed this in Australia a little bit with you before and different times with you. And also not only for our other devotees who are here, Kat does not only make the best ice creams in the world, she's really a sincere seeker. And she's got good association. She's got Kelly, she's got Abhinava, and she comes and meets with the devotees at the Dham. And Jagannath, our good friend Jagannath and Masi. So, we're 4 minutes in. Usually we say, after 5 minutes, devotees come together. But this is, no, it's the weekend. Yeah, usually we've got more. I think everybody's tired from the parikramas. Their legs are hurting. Now they got home and say, okay, I'm going to watch the television instead of these Hare Krishnas.
And they have jet lag, Maharaj, all the way to India, back from India.
Yeah. Well, you see, we gave advice to devotees about how to get over jet lag for so many years, and then we had to follow that advice ourselves, and it worked. If you want, but now there's no need for information about how to travel because we can't. But if you do want to know how to travel and not get jet lagged, you, as soon as possible, follow the time zone of the place you're going to. This is some basic tips for travel, not for back to basics, but somebody may join us. As soon as you get on the plane, it's a good idea not to adjust your watches before you get on the plane, but you may miss your flight. But as soon as you get on the plane, adjust your clocks to where you're going and adjust your mentality for sleeping and for eating for where you're going to. So that way, no matter what they serve, they come on the plane at, ridiculous hours sometimes, but just get into the routine of where you're going and drink more water than necessary. And when you arrive, follow night and day immediately without thinking about where you came from. And the third thing is to get into the sunlight, if not the sun, into daylight during the day as much as possible, because these are the tips that athletes use when they travel. Athletes, politicians, people like that who've got to be on the ball when they get to somewhere. They go into some, the Olympics or something. They don't say, I had jet lag, that's why I didn't win the race. They got to get on the, into the time zone. They got to be fit. And really these tips, very simple tips, but they work. And Gurudev was the example of this, Govinda Maharaj. he traveled the world and he followed day and night wherever he was. And when he would come back to India, even he's flying in from California, flying in from some like completely opposite side of the world, time zone wise from India, then he would be up next morning, 3:45, he'll be there. And maybe get to rest earlier that night, or maybe, an hour later, but he would be there. And his sweet young devotees who traveled with him for 4 days, they'd be going, oh, Gurudev saying, where were you? Oh, jet lag, Gurudev. Jet lag, what is this jet lag? Except finally, maybe not his very last tour, but the tour before that, when he came back, then Gurudev was not feeling well. He said, why am I so tired after a couple of days? And he said, I think jet lag, Prabhu. So after 23 world tours, he got jet lag. And just for the record, Gurudev went on 24 world tours. This is by his counting. So if anybody analyzes where he went, he'll say, oh no, it was 26 or 27 or whatever it may be. But he had tour part A and part B, things like this. So his calculation for sure, because we went through this with Gurudev, and then this is not separate world tour, this is same world tour part B. So his counting, by his counting, is 24 world tours, just for the record. If there's any record given in the, there is, in the Akash, in the sky. So, well, we're 9 minutes in. So tell me, first of all, does anybody have any question? Or anything that we should discuss? And we do have Kat with us, who's, actually, she's not a newcomer. She is part of the family, but she hasn't quite jumped in and thought, yes, this is everything in life yet. Kat, do you have something, some question? Or maybe your two associates there might have something they say. Could you explain this to Kat? Which means for us all.
Well, I don't have a question right now, Maharaj, but I do want to say that I watched every parikram, and I absolutely, thoroughly, I just got so much out of it. And I just really, so beautiful. Thank you so much for thinking of the idea to virtually take us on that tour, because not only did I feel like I was in India, but I just was immersed in so much of the Krishna consciousness, and I just loved it. So thank you so much.
Well, that's
such a beautiful gift, and so creative to consider it like that. It was beautiful.
Okay, well, we appreciate very much your encouraging words. And actually, Kat, you're a good example of the sense of, we know that with us, there were so many devotees, but we know that not with us also means because of the time zones, etc. Then there are so many who watched and also were nourished. And we've had quite a river of like, oh, this was such a good idea. But it wasn't, it was a natural thing to do. It's just we can't go there, but we can still visit. And the thing is, a lot of the devotees have visited those places, in the physical world. But another thing is that really, for us who have, you can say, gone on parikrama several times, if not more, but we've gone on parikrama lots of times. And when we're there, we're always trying to feel, or really, trying to remind ourselves always, what we see is not the actual, spiritual Govardhan Hill, etc., or the spiritual Vrindavan. And in Vrindavan, it's so obvious that it is not, because there is no description of concrete concrete and bricks and buildings and motorcycles and horns and, you know, there are descriptions of cows and other things which we do see all over Vrindavan. But the external things that we see, we can't, that is not Vrindavan. But we can feel, if we're fortunate, we can at least feel something very wonderful there. And I think it was Kelly who pointed out that the Chinese devotees, maybe it was Kelly who pointed it out, not sure, but the Chinese devotees, maybe, I do not know, 4 years ago, when we first started, or maybe longer, I do not know, but when we first started sort of making a special effort for the Chinese, that they will come and they've got somewhere to stay, etc., etc. When they first came, or the first year that they came, we rented a place so that they would all be together. And it was upstairs, it was a locked area, so it was safe and they can be there. But as happens in India, they all got stomach troubles, they all suffered so much. Then one thing happened, another thing happened, and it was difficult for them to adjust to the noise, which you can't stop. I'm afraid you can't stop the motorcycles going down the street with their thumb on the horn and all these things. And they were suffering when they were there. But every one of them, and then we're thinking, oh, they suffered so much and they're going, you know, we couldn't make it so that they were comfortable, and many things happened. But then after a week of them going back to China, then they're all saying, oh, we miss Vrindavan so much. It was so special. We had a wonderful time. And they can't wait to come back. It's very subtle, but there is, within all the external craziness, within all that, there's a very wonderful thing under the surface. But you see, by coming on as we say, the virtual parikrama, actually we are doing parikrama substantially, because we are hardly touching that surface. A little bit we're touching the surface, but we are instead, you know, fully discussing what is there in Vrindavan. So it was very natural. And Janardhan Maharaj had done that for not exactly like that, but with an extensive series of slides he did for Gaura Purnima, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, when he was unable to go. And he made a similar thing. So it's coming from the devotees. And then Goswami Maharaj, when we discussed it this year, when I was in Thailand, he was very enthusiastic. He said, yes. So it came together. And we want to try to live in that parikram consciousness, but spiritual consciousness always, actually. We are reading Chaitanya-charitāmṛta. This is the food of the Vaishnavas. Chaitanya-charitāmṛta that's come through Srila Prabhupada's pen, with the purport, everything about Chaitanya-charitāmṛta. So we are reading Chaitanya-charitāmṛta from the devotees, and by the blessing and wish of Guru Maharaj and Gurudev, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami also. I mean, this is why we're reading that book. And Kat, some time ago, you said, where can I read about Krishna's pastimes, his activities, what does he do? And I gave you the links to those Krishna books. And you said, oh, this is going to keep me going for a long time. But did you start to read?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I photocopied quite a lot of chapters just so I could have the hard copy, because at the end of the day, being on the computer so much, it's nice to have a printed version. So I could just read it. So I did, and I really enjoy it. And and I watch, and I like to watch the recordings of your class. I know today is Sunday and I'm live, which is really special, but the Thursday class I'm working, but I always watch the replay. So, you know, to have so much availability to such great material. I'm finding more and more how much it sustains me, because life for me is, 5 days working and so much in my mind, and to be able to watch the classes and to read, it really helps my heart and navigates me to where I need to, truly be. So I feel very grateful for so much content that's accessible. And I was curious about the Chaitanya-charitāmṛta. I can't say it.
Chaitanya-charitāmṛta.
Yeah, so I understand that this is the book that Prabhupada wrote. He translated, okay. So I'm still learning what it all means.
Yes, don't worry. There is plenty for many lifetimes, not only one lifetime. And we are reading throughout our whole life. Not the very first days, I have to admit, but from coming to Guru Maharaj and then having the accessibility to Chaitanya-charitāmṛta, which we did not have before. It was very rare to have Chaitanya-charitāmṛta because it came in 17 volumes, not something that a brahmachari can put in his backpack. And even then, the 17 volumes, they were not so easy to get. They weren't everywhere in the world. So, but for many, many years, Chaitanya-charitāmṛta has been our main food. We take that every day, as well as the reading of other things and the hearing of other things. And so we try to keep also our spiritual meal, our spiritual diet balanced. It's not only balancing the material world and our spiritual life and how to adjust. We are working in the world, but keeping our consciousness in the right place, as you say. It's not only that, but in our spiritual nourishment, we want to take a balanced meal. We wanted to spend some time reading, but reading and or hearing Chaitanya-charitāmṛta, Guru Maharaj, Srila Maharaj, what he is giving as directly as possible, Srila Govinda Maharaj, what he is giving as directly as possible, as well as the scripture, and as well as chanting, and chanting with the devotees. Very simply, here we are sometimes 3 devotees chanting happily. And actually, yesterday evening, we are playing because we sometimes don't get the tune quite right. So we were playing from some recordings from the 1980s, from when we are in the temple with Guru Maharaj in the 80s, very simple days. And we were playing from the recording and literally following the recording. And we like to do that sometimes because it transports us to Navadip, our home, actually. Our home is Navadip. Mahaprabhu's the giver of Krishna, and Navadip is the place of Mahaprabhu. Koladip, Kulia, in our last, was it today's Sunday? Last Thursday, we were talking about Kulia. And in Kulia, the place of the most magnanimous pastimes of the most magnanimous Lord. There, we used to chant with the devotees in the Nat Mandir. So even you are 1 or 2, even you saw during the parikramas that we would chant Hare Krishna and everybody's chanting Hare Krishna. And many will be sitting by themselves in their house also chanting Hare Krishna. And we are also, we're not in the temple room, we are somewhere and we are chanting Hare Krishna with the devotees. I've got to have it, and I still have, it's not a souvenir, it's just that I have it, my Limca bottle from the last parikrama. It's a Limca bottle. If you want another tip about traveling, you don't have to buy expensive water bottles, but Coca-Cola bottle, you can just pour the Coca-Cola out, but the Coca-Cola bottles, they're probably not going to dissolve into your water because Coca-Cola is so corrosive, they've got to make it out of special plastic. So there's a tip for your travel.
pouring Coca-Cola out is a major aparad. I cannot.
Whose voice is this? USA representative, Karla Chan Prabhu. Pouring Coca-Cola out is Coca-Cola aparad.
Pouring Coca-Cola out, replacing it with water. I can't believe what I'm hearing.
Well, for you practical people, you know what Coca-Cola is used for, and we've done it in Navadip. We've got Coca-Cola after learning that when you have batteries, before in the olden days, batteries were like long, round, and if you left them in a flashlight or something, they would leak. And so then that acid comes on to the ends of the terminals of the flashlight or the cassette player or something. The only way to get that off permanently is with Coca-Cola. So there you are. The glories of Coca-Cola, Karla Chan Prabhu. And Karla Chan Prabhu, welcome. Jeevana Devirasi, welcome. And Jai Gauranga Prabhu, New Zealand, welcome. And the hidden number here, this is Jayadev Prabhu and Chintamani Devidasi. Hare Krishna.
We do, Maharaj, Kat was just asking a question when you mentioned like the Chaitanya-charitāmṛta, if you could explain, because we have the Bhagavad-gītā and also the Chaitanya-charitāmṛta, and how, like, what is the difference between them and why the Chaitanya-charitāmṛta is more significant for us.
Okay, Jeevana Didi, can we pass this one to you? We'd love to hear you to say some description about this. Are you at work or at home? You're at home, aren't you?
I'm still in Hawaii at my mother's house with my sister.
Right. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
You know, I didn't tell you last time, but my mother was in Navadvip in 1987, February of 1987, and visited Guru Maharaj and Gurudev at that time for a day or two.
And I think I was there and we prepared a room for her. Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, so the question is that why we listen to Bhagavad-gītā and Chaitanya-charitāmṛta, or wasn't sure what.
Right. Just briefly, what is the difference? What is the function of each, and what is the difference between the two?
Oh boy, I'm going to be so fired on this answer. But anyway, so Bhagavad-gītā was spoken by Krishna himself 5,000 years ago, and it's like the handbook for humanity. It's like they give the example, like if you bought a vacuum cleaner, you would get a manual how to run the vacuum cleaner, and you know what to do when certain issues come up, and how to fix it, how to clean it. So Bhagavad-gītā is like that for our life here in this world, telling us exactly where we are and who we are, what our duty is, and if we do this, what will happen. And the core of the Bhagavad-gītā, of course, is explaining that Krishna is the supreme personality everywhere. And like pearls strung on a thread, everything is around Krishna, and how he boldly says it himself in that Bhagavad-gītā. It's so beautiful. And then, so Maharaj, please feel free to stop me or kick in at any point. Then Chaitanya-charitāmṛta briefly is when Krishna came as Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because things had degraded so much. Krishna will come every time things get too dicey and degraded for the living entities to make any progress. So he came as Mahaprabhu, and the beautiful thing about that, I mean, there's so many beautiful things, but he's actually Krishna himself, and he comes in the mood of Srimati Radharani, and he comes in the mood of, I think it's called a Darya Leela, where he wants to distribute Krishna consciousness. When Krishna came, he was enjoying all of his pastimes, and when Mahaprabhu comes, he wants to bring us all in, bringing it to everybody through the Hare Krishna mantra and his various pastimes.
Okay.
Okay, now I have a question. So Mahaprabhu came 500 years ago, and he's, amongst other things, the Yuga avatar for Kali Yuga. But then Krishna came 5,000 years ago, and that was the end of Dwapara Yuga. So what did Krishna come, like was he just coming because he was coming at that time? Was there also a Yuga avatar that happened earlier on in Dwapara Yuga, or?
Okay, so we can have Kelly answer this question.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if I would really give a very good answer for that.
Oh, try.
Because, yeah. I mean, the thing is that he's actually coming, as I understand, I think I'm probably going to be wrong on this, but the Lord is coming every yuga. Is this right? And then once in the day of Lord Brahma comes as avatari. Is that right?
Yeah, that's Mahaprabhu. That's this yuga. But what I'm asking really is about, so we understand that about Mahaprabhu, but what was Krishna doing 5,000 years ago? Was he coming as avatari, or was he coming, or was there an actual yuga avatar somewhere in Dwapara Yuga, and Krishna just happened to come at the end of Dwapara Yuga for his own purpose, nothing to do with the yuga avatars that appear in each yuga?
Anyway, this is more gently technical in one sense, but Krishna comes as an avatar at the onslaught at the beginning before each Kali Yuga. And normally it comes in Treta Yuga, not in Dwapara Yuga. But as avatari, the Dwapara Yuga and Treta Yuga got switched around. Anyhow, this is not exactly back to basics, but Krishna comes as an avatar once every Chatur Yuga time, and Mahaprabhu comes as an avatar once every Chatur Yuga, the 4 yugas. But once in a day of Brahma, avatari Krishna comes, the original Krishna, and just after that, the original Mahaprabhu. It's not that Krishna came twice. And in Chaitanya-charitāmṛta, the description is there that it was the time for the avatar to come at the same time that Mahaprabhu was, Krishna rather, was intensely trying to understand how much intensity of devotion and mood does Radharani have for me. So that at that same time, then Krishna decided to come himself to taste that mood of topmost devotion. So generally, the avatar of Gauranga is coming to distribute Krishna Nam, but avatari Gauranga is coming as Krishna himself in the mood of Radharani. So he's actually coming himself to discover himself, to discover devotion to him as the devotee, as opposed to as the receiver of devotion. So this is mentioned in Chaitanya-charitāmṛta about this combination once in a day of Brahma. And Jivana's description, I thought actually was very applicable, because we get a phone or we get something and we can say, okay, I click the phone and this, and it works. But if you get the user manual, you can find out all the stuff which you never knew it was inside that phone and what it can do. And so Bhagavad-gītā is the sort of the user manual about birth and death. What is birth and death? What is karma? All these things, and about different proposals for improving the quality of our life through this yoga, this meditation, this tapasya, this renunciation, all these things. And then, but then he's indicating and telling about his abode. So the instruction manual for life is a good way, in one sense, to describe Bhagavad-gītā. And it is something which is also imperceptibly sweet. When you go through Bhagavad-gītā, you just want to keep reading it again and again. When you get to the end, you want to go back to the beginning. And it is just, it's a wonderful book also to keep us going throughout our whole life. And then Chaitanya-charitāmṛta is making all of Bhagavad-gītā practical for us in this age, actually for all time. But Audarya Leela means the pastime, the Leela of distribution. And Chaitanya-charitāmṛta, it is in its original form, it's 17 volumes. It's a big book. And that book really, when you get to the end, to the beginning, to the end, and it's not so many times in our life that we will read the whole Chaitanya-charitāmṛta, but we are doing like this, we are doing so. And once you start to read Chaitanya-charitāmṛta, you don't want to put it down also. But now it all fits into here. The whole Chaitanya-charitāmṛta, the whole Srimad Bhagavatam, actually all of those books, they're all in here, both spoken as well as the spoken books, as well as reading books. So we're able to hear.
We're just saying, Maharaj, you've also very graciously recorded the entire Chaitanya-charitāmṛta for devotees all around the world too.
Many books, but you know what? I have also, graciously or not, I'm not sure about that, because it was, well, it was in service. Those recordings began in 1987, in the time of Guru Maharaj, because the devotees who were serving Guru Maharaj, they didn't have any time to read. And so it started as recording for the servitors of Guru Maharaj, so that I had some time, so gradually started recording. But what I was going to say, and so they've happened over a number of years, but I've been thinking of Kat sometimes, because at the moment I'm listening through the Parayan, that means continuous reading. I'm in the Krishna books, but I'm listening to the Krishna books. And sometimes I think, oh, I should tell Kat about these spoken books, but they're so badly spoken. I would cringe if I thought somebody else was listening to them. So, you know, really, these are from when I was young, and it's not good readings, but I'm not going to sit and read them again. But anyway, because we try to get exercise, and just like in the world, you know, I know everybody in the world's driving a car. You know, here in Italy, also, I'm seeing there's a whole village opposite, but you don't see people. You see the cars. You see the cars go out and come in and this, that, and another, but you don't see people. And so, you know, and Australia, maybe to some degree, but America, like, just it's cars, unlimited cars everywhere. So everybody's in a car all the time, driving to work, driving back, distributing ice creams, whatever they're doing, they're in a car. So, you know, when we're out and about, we can also listen to things. And so we also try to get some exercise, because we can't just sit every day. It's necessary to keep a little movement. So when I'm not with the devotees and we go out on the bicycle or walking, then put in the headphones and then you can listen. When you walk, you can chant japa. When you ride a bicycle, you can listen to I'm listening now to the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is adapting, practical use of these electronic things. So, where's our Kala Chand? Oh, Madhavi, Devidasi, Dandabat, welcome.
Maharaj, could I ask you a question that maybe be a quick one?
Okay. Is it a question for me, or who am I going to ask to answer? Well, yes, Jivana.
I'm here at home, and my sister is here, and she likes to chant Hare Krishna, and she's a very helpful person, but she's very active. So it's not like she can sit down and read a book, but she wants to do a little meditation in the morning, you know, just some little thing every morning to be kind of regular and kind of get in the habit of doing a tiny bit of meditation. what would you suggest for that?
Oh, yes. Chant Hare Krishna. It's good.
And maybe should she read anything? A little something, just one page of Home Comfort, or maybe a couple of Bhagavad-gītā slokas. Not much she can do because, like I said, she needs to be active. But she really wants to do some meditation program in the morning, some simple thing.
Well, yes, we can definitely recommend Bhagavad-gītā as it is, or Bhagavad-gītā Hidden Treasure. Bhagavad-gītā as it is very good for us, because Srila Prabhupada in his purport is helping us all along to have the devotee conception. Guru Maharaj, and we know it, we think that the book Search for Sri Krishna is like, oh, everyone will understand that. But it depends how much your sister knows. To get the very foundation, Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad-gītā as it is.
That sounds right, Maharaj.
From beginning to end, though, you encourage her to go beginning to end.
Okay.
But on a small way, yes, Home Comfort is very good, and Inner Fulfillment is very good, but they're very, very small. It's not a continuous meditation. And then after reading Bhagavad-gītā, then search for Sri Krishna. Because actually everything is in search for Sri Krishna. I mean, I'd like to say, ask her to read Loving Search for the Lost Servant, but I don't know, because everything is there. It's not only, we are always thinking, oh, it's Gopakumar going to Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan, but there is all about Guru, all about Gauranga, all about the sweetness of the upper world. You could give her that book, Loving Search for the Lost Servant. She's your sister. She's had your association. What a wonderful book. What a wonderful book to be your first Krishna conscious book. See how much she understands. Talk to her sometimes. That will be a good jump into the ocean.
That's great. Great, Maharaj.
And she can chant Hare Krishna. She can instead of chanting by numbers, she can give herself 5 minutes or 10 minutes and put the timer for 5 minutes or 10 minutes.
That's great.
Hare
She
Krishna,
does
Hare
like to do
Krishna.
that. So I will
Yeah.
encourage her. Great.
Govinda, Govinda. And Andrew Marasko. Andrew, Hare Krishna. Welcome.
He's a friend of Chintamani and Jaidev.
Okay, hi. Okay, welcome. We are just more or less chatting this morning. We've got a handful of devotees. So Andrew, welcome. And are you from Florida or some other place?
I am in Berkeley, California.
Oh, Berkeley, California.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that has a history for the Krishna consciousness worldwide mission, especially of Guru Maharaj. Berkeley has a history. And do you know devotees in Berkeley?
I know of one elder that lives somewhere in Berkeley. I haven't met him physically. Apart from that, I do not know anyone else here. I just moved to Berkeley in the beginning of October, so I'm still establishing roots here.
Okay, all right. I'm not sure I even have an address of somebody in Berkeley, but maybe Jeevana can help out. She could maybe. Do you know some devotees in Berkeley now, Jeevana?
Well, there's Krishna Ashraya. They sometimes do programs up there. But I'll check. I'll check with especially Braja Mohini. Braja often knows names and addresses really well.
All right. Yes, very good. Yes, she's a good person to check with.
Yeah.
All right. So Praneshwari Devi, you need to explain to Andrew and to Kat and to us all what is the essential foundation of Krishna consciousness? Why it is very worthwhile and not just, oh, an interesting thing?
Because it's our real nature. Lord Krishna is in our hearts. Everyone, every entity, every creature has Krishna glowing, shining from the heart. And we need Krishna consciousness because without it, we are dry. We would die. We don't have the source, the connection, the beauty. So we need it. We need good association. And good association of the devotees. Good association of the Vaishnavas. Without them, we cannot thrive. We just wilt. And Maharaj, I wanted to say something. Mohanananda, I sent him the link to join the parikramas, and he couldn't make it because of the time, but he graciously joined the Facebook Back to Basics. So he will come sometime when Abhinav Sundar helps him, because he says, I don't know how to log in into Zoom or download Zoom app, but he loves you so much. He wants to come to see you.
So Mohanananda wants back to basics. Okay.
He joined maybe 3 days ago.
Okay, and who is Mohanananda Prabhu? He is an Aussie from Singapore with part Indian background. He's very energetic and capable. He's just retired after doing business his whole life in different ways. He just sold his business before all this COVID thing, so he was actually lucky. He planned it and to do all that. But like many qualities, but one of the big things is Gurudev now is famous. He came out, Srila Govind Maharaj came out of India for 24 world tours. He went extensively around the world and really brought joy to the hearts of so many people, new and old. But Gurudev Govinda Maharaj coming out of India, it took a special kind of personality to make it all happen. And Mohanananda was that special personality. And he came to India. He came with his wife, his 2 children. He really gave his whole energy in every way, not only his energy like to do things, but also with his own money. He started the tours going on. And we were a team together, and he's definitely, it was indispensable in making things happen. Getting the visas for Gurudev and his assistant at that time, to get visas for countries all around the world, including, Australia. Well, starting with Australia, where he went to first via Singapore, yes, we know, but his destination was Australia. And then for America, for Brazil, for the UK, for Europe, very difficult to get visas for an Indian who has no job, he's a sannyasi, no bank account, no tax returns, no house, no wife, basically, no way that they're going to get a visa. So from those very beginning times, a very big effort. So yes, Mohanananda, we appreciate, everybody appreciates, not only that service, but all the way through, you see. Now, how many years ago was that? That was 1992. And now, mathematics, almost 30 years later, still, now he's retired. And what to do when retired? Energy is all for Krishna. He's cooking in the, so humble, but he's cooking in the temple, chanting in the temple,
distributing samosas with Kelly and Abhinava Sundar.
Distributing, did you say?
distributing samosas on Saturdays.
Oh, samosas. Oh, yeah. Making the samosas also and distributing them, raising funds for the temple.
Exactly.
All right. So anyway, yes, so many books to read. But one step at a time. And in one way, we were fortunate. When we came to Guru Maharaj, to Srila Sridhar Maharaj, there were no books at all. And so, I mean, fortunate in the sense of, everything was hearing Guru Maharaj. We're coming to him, we're hearing, and we're doing seva in the temple. Anybody who's there for more than as more than maybe 3 days as a visitor or something, they're doing seva. And so we're engaged, and Guru Maharaj emphasizing doing something. Being in the temple means engaging in service, not coming, listening, and then going to sleep all day, or going shopping or sightseeing, these things. We didn't do that. We didn't, go out from the temple unless it was for service. And the parikramas at the particular times, it was service, but it is otherwise not service. Guru Maharaj and Gurudev did not consider in general time that, going place to place to place for seeing things is service. Rather, that engaging in activities in the temple under the direction of the temple manager, if you like, management, for something to contribute to the temple, whether it's cleaning or, well, we didn't do cooking, but we could help with the cooking, and the maintenance and the bookshop and so many aspects of the ashram, because it was quite a big ashram. So we didn't have any books, and then one book came. The first book was Search for Sri Krishna, Reality the Beautiful. And when that book came, every devotee, as Guru Maharaj described about one book he got in the early days, he said, I devoured that book. I devoured it. I just couldn't get enough of it. It was like everything. So Search for Sri Krishna, all the devotees devoured that book. And that was the whole basis for then the preaching programs, for our giving quotations, reading from there. And then we read that book many times before the next book came. The next book was Sri Guru and His Grace. So in another sense, I mean, in our life with Guru Maharaj, these were our nourishment. And first was Bhagavad-gītā. In those days, and Bhagavad-gītā means Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad-gītā as it is. And in those days, it was not easy to get a copy of Bhagavad-gītā, especially if you're a brahmachari. But even if you're not a brahmachari and you actually have some money, then they weren't, you can't buy them everywhere. They weren't available. And somebody gave me one of the thick, they had a very thick edition, an old edition. And I was so happy to have that Bhagavad-gītā. So that was my one book I had in India, was Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad-gītā. Until one evening on the train, then Krishna relieved me of all my worldly possessions, including my non-worldly possession, Bhagavad-gītā. It happens to, I can't say everybody, but to almost everybody who stays in India for more than a short time. Sometime during that time, Krishna will probably relieve you of your possessions, at least that you carry with you. And I was carrying all my worldly possessions at that time in a bundle. And then we had nothing, just what we had, what we were wearing. And luckily, my japa and my passport. I had my passport in my waist and I had my japa with me. And then everything else went. So then I didn't even have the Bhagavad-gītā. And I thought after that, Krishna, yes, I can understand all the other things, but why the Bhagavad-gītā? It is so, like such a treasure. Then I thought, okay, Bhagavad-gītā must have gone to somebody. It went somewhere. So it went. But then we got, later, not that time, later, we got Search for Sri Krishna. then Sri Guru and his grace, and then that book, again and again and again, reading from it, and during the classes and everything, that was the book for our nourishment. So in a way, one by one, the books came, and one by one, we got to read and read and read and kind of absorb ourselves in those books. So now, as Kat said, there is so much resource, so many things are available to us literally at the tip of our fingers. So we can be a little flooded by, oh, what will I read? I read a bit, oh, this is nice, and we take a bit from here and there. But actually, the process of study and of reading is to read one book thoroughly from beginning to end. And I mean, I can definitely say it is good to read from beginning to end at least twice, and I would say 3 times these books. They're not so big, each of these books, and people are reading all the time. Look at the libraries and all these things. We can read one book from beginning to end. Search for Sri Krishna, to the end, then go back to the beginning, to the end, back to the beginning. And similarly, we're mentioning about Bhagavad-gītā. Bhagavad-gītā, not just for reading once, but for actually continuous reading. And then it's not that we can take everything. Now, how many hours of reading, even if we just read and don't stop and think and then read the purport, I mean, it is a lifetime of reading is there already available, but we need to try to be focused. And Jeevana, I'll be interested to hear some feedback after you recommend. You now decide which book you'll give your sister. But Bhagavad-gītā for meditation, and I would be interested how your sister would receive the Lord's loving search for the lost servant, because it's so sweet all the way through. I find it hard to believe that anybody, even if they hadn't had any touch with all the Sanskrit words and everything, I find it hard to believe that anybody would not be touched by reading that book. Loving Search for the Lost Servant.
I'll have to send her one. I do have a Bhagavad-gītā for her, so that I can do. I think I have the Bhagavad-gītā, Mara, as you were talking about the big, fat, thick Bhagavad-gītā from way back.
Well, mine was from way back. It was like an old edition, for sure. But don't forget, you know, when I was in India, people were telling me, oh, you're all so backward in India. Everybody in the West, they got iPads and tablets. They're all reading from the iPads. And then somebody gave me an iPad. And when I came out from India, then I found, well, I was the only person who's using the iPad, and everybody else is so backward. They're reading books. But these little tablets and stuff, if you use them properly, they're wonderful for us. And this is from America. This is from was it Best Buy, something like that. They're just near the temple in Santa Cruz. $125, a Samsung Galaxy A, and I can say it's great. All the books, and you just buy a little memory chip for $30 or something, 125 gigabytes. You can put all sorts of stuff there. But this way, easily, readily, you can have Bhagavad-gītā. Readily, you can have everything.
Right.
We just have to use these things, right? And they're completely readable like a book. But I would advise, don't spend tons of money on an iPad. They're so expensive. And these Galaxy things, I was given this because, well, as it happens, broke the screen on the iPad. And it cost more to replace the screen than it did to buy this. And when I got this, I thought, well, it does the job fine. We're just reading books. So anyway, Krishna's giving us the opportunity in this age to actually have access to everything. But with it all, we have to know the parameters. We have to know know what is readable and not readable. We shouldn't just be an inquirer going anywhere and everywhere. Our inquiry should bring us into focus to where to use our energy. Otherwise, if we try to understand Shankaracharya's philosophy, what is Madhavacharya's view, what is this Acharya, that Acharya, this line, that line, and try to do an analysis, you know, then, okay, then go to university, study comparative religion, comparative theology, and you spend your whole life just, you know, comparing everything, but not coming to the focus of what the purpose of all of these are. What is the common goal of all of the researchers, philosophers, the yogis, the meditationists, the renunciates, the givers, the pious people who are trying to do good for others? What is that good that is being pointed to? What is that goal of meditation, goal of doing pious activity? And when we can recognize that that is being given, indicated in many, many places, but is being given the clearest description, not only the clearest description of who we are, where we are, and, you know, our potential to improve ourselves, but what is the goal of improvement. And this is the land of beauty, eternity, love, sweetness, where we don't go through changing bodies all the time, where we are in no danger of being cheated by anybody, because nobody with a cheating propensity is allowed there. A land called Goloka Vrindavan, the land of Krishna, which is given to us by Mahaprabhu through especially chanting the holy names of the Lord. This is what our learning should come to. And actually, it was Sri Lekha Devidasi. For those of you who are watching the parikramas, she also mentioned that, oh, Guru Maharaj, she picked up this beautiful quote from Guru Maharaj. And I don't have the exact words in front of me, but she's quoting from Guru Maharaj. The purpose of all knowledge, the purpose of learning, the purpose of learning, the purpose of all knowledge is to understand that I am the most needy. I am the most needy. That is the purpose of knowledge. I need grace from that upper world. I will do what is required to be there. I'm not at home. I'm in a foreign land. I'm in a dangerous position where I can be devoured. My whole identity of who I am can be lost in a moment. As soon as we leave our body, then we're no longer whoever we think we are, with whatever house and wealth and, you know, skills and things we are. We've lost it. Everything we have here, it is a foreign land, as Guru Maharaj says. Where we are wandering is a foreign land, and we are to come to our home. So we need to use all of the, you know, modern facility where we really do have access to all of Srila Prabhupada's books, all of Srila Govinda Maharaj's books, all of Srila Sri Ram Maharaj's books. So many things are there. But we also have access to all sorts of other books, of all sorts of other philosophies and ideas, and some are completely invented, some are half-truths, some are doing the best that they can, sincere, some are purely cheating. I mean, purely cheating. There are many evidences of this. And some, you know, going to get us started, but when we can come to the focus of where we are to use our energy, and then we'll find that actually we don't have time for other things. Once we know the direction that we should be using our life, then we use our life in that direction. No more need to go analyzing this or that, because only if you know, maybe you need to know a little bit about Buddhist philosophy, etc., if you're answering questions from the Buddhists. But first thing is we have to answer questions from ourselves. So then we will be settled. Okay, now this is clear. What Mahaprabhu has given, love of God, is the real goal of life. Who is God? He is Krishna, the whole of the Vedic teaching telling us this. So the handbook of the phone tells us all the purpose behind the phone, not just looking pretty to put on a shelf and say, oh, look, what a nice phone. But it has a purpose. So the handbook of our life is Bhagavad-gītā. The goal of our life given in Srimad Bhagavatam, ultimately taking us to Goloka Vrindavan, the land of Krishna, sweetness, love, affection, but everybody dedicated to the Lord by their heart. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya-charitāmṛta, giving us the wonderful pastimes of that same Lord, distributing himself here on the earth 500 years ago. Kalachan Prabhu, it is 11 o'clock. Are you cooking? Are you farming? What are you doing? I know you're doing something.
At the farm, Maharaj, but getting ready to leave for the temple.
Okay, and I heard that yourself and Gauranataraj Prabhu were the stars of the feast for Guru Maharaj's recent Vyasa Puja festival.
It was all Gaur, Maharaj. I was just harassing the devotees like always. He was doing all the work.
Ho, ho, ho. Anyway, everybody appreciated worldwide famous feast at Gupta Govardhan. Jai Gauranga Prabhu, how is everything going?
Excuse me. Dandavats Maharaj, how are you? I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yes, yes, we're all good. This side of the world, winter is coming on. It is now late autumn, getting chilly. Your side of the world, spring is coming on, coming into summer.
It's getting quite hot here actually. The New Zealand's subtropical, which
Subtropical, you're joking. Not when I was there. It was chilly.
They call New Zealand the land of 4 seasons in one day.
4 seasons and 1 day. Just explain it briefly. I know it's not fully Krishna conscious, except it is a manifestation of Krishna's energy. And New Zealand is really a beautiful country, reminding us of the beauty, artwork of the Lord himself. Yes, 4 seasons, 1 day means?
Oh, so because the weather here is very, very unpredictable, and so it changes quite quickly and quite often.
Oh, so in 1 day you get spring, summer, autumn, winter.
Yeah, pretty much.
Got it. Well, 1 day you can come to the tropics and find out what subtropical is. I think New Zealand may not quite fit into that category.
No, probably not.
But wishful thinking. All right. Anyway, Jai Gauranga, you look well.
Thank you.
Happy to have you with us, and I'm hoping you've also been able to see some of the online parikramas.
Yes, Maharaj, I got to do the I think I was there for when we were in Jaipur.
Okay.
I think it was Jaipur. I can't really remember a lot of it because it was 1:30 in the morning here, so it was.
I understand. I know it's the wrong time for New Zealand, especially Australia, also a little bit, but Kelly, a sleepy Kelly, and I think a very asleep Abhinav joined us for some of them. No, you're allowed to be sleepy. It was late at night. And Kelly also sending a little note and saying, oh, I can't stay any longer. Please excuse. Hare Krishna.
It's so beautiful that he says, when we were in Jaipur, we were. So that's the spirit.
Yeah, we were in Jaipur, for sure. We got the spirit. All right. And Chintamani and Jayadev, I hope all is going well with you. Okay, maybe they can hear us. Anyway, so for this week, we've kind of covered a few things as they've turned up about, what may be good for someone to meditate on, but the urgency to meditate, to focus our meditation on Krishna, on where we are to go, and how to go. This ultimately is the main thing we need to know. Keep it simple. Keep our faith in the holy name and make our life successful. And I think you gave a little glimpse of your sister just now, Jeevana. Sorry, we weren't giving proper attention.
Oh yeah, I like to throw her under the bus. This is Milani.
Okay, hi.
Hi, everybody all over the world.
And this is her new computer, so we can try and download that loving search.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, very smart. So please do. There are wonderful treasures to be discovered through these books and through practicing what they advise in the books. So we encourage you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
She has a really amazing service attitude by nature that I never got, but she got it. So
Ho, ho, ho.
keep her
All right.
in the loop.
And just before we go, we do need to have at least a word from Abhinavasundar Prabhu. Give us a tip for the week.
Well, I was just going to pipe in a moment ago to tell Jeevana that it happens by osmosis, you see. So by your presence, then your sister's
Thank you. I like that. So I've been counting on that.
It's a very good sense of humor. Great sense of humor over there in Australia.
Cool.
Oh, it's true.
True. We've received it from you as well, Jeevana, being in your presence in Soquel.
See, we're all getting
they're upside down. They get it backwards because they're from Australia.
So funny.
And so this is the importance and the value and the beauty of the Vaishnavas is that even if they're unaware, they're still emanating the gifts that they've been given to others. So anyway, I'm hoping that because I'm so lazy and useless that maybe something that Gurudev has planted in my heart is somehow coming out into the environment, despite my laziness. So there might be hope for us.
Well, I would not describe Abhinavasundar as lazy either. That is humility. Okay, well, because I asked you, have you got a little quote for the week? Then I just came to my little notes that I keep. Here is a quote for a week or for a lifetime. I do not know. And this is from Srila Gurudev. He's saying, all jiva souls, means all people, the soul, who we are, the living person. All jiva souls' nature is to worship. We want to worship somebody. It is our nature, somebody who's great or something great to worship. All jiva souls' nature is to worship. It is existing within their consciousness. Pure devotional life, that is, pure attraction and service to beauty, is the actual nature, the actual dharma of the jiva souls. So this is from Gurudev. Reality, the search for Sri Krishna, reality the beautiful. And it's already in us. We want to do this, but in this world, we're always held back to give our heart because we know that in this world, everything is, temporary. It's not the place to give our heart to. Our heart is for the Lord. And when our heart is for beauty, that central beauty, who is a person, we can't be more than him. We've got all personality. And that person, all the Vedas, all the scripture indicating, showing Krishna is that supreme beauty, that embodiment of beauty, love, everything. And Not only that, the origin of all the other forms of God, that producing the universes, maintaining the universes, destroying the universes, all these things. But that beauty, that sweetness, that is the real focus that our heart is yearning for. Okay, Andrew, yes, hope to see you again soon, and we can give some tips on practical things to do through your good friends, Chintamani, Jayadev. Take care. And actually, I need to go too, because our world is continuing on this side of the world. But that's a little quote from Gurudev. So let us try to be devotees. And Kelly, oh yes, Kelly, you have something to say?
No, we were confused where the quote came from, but it was Gurudev.
Gurudev revealed truth, if you want to find it in there. There are many, many things which are there. We can happily quote lots of things. Happily. Oh, Munindra. Oh, by the way, I told you at the beginning, I invited Munindra Mohan Prabhu to come and contribute for this morning's class, but here it's a bit early for him. All right, no problem. My obeisances to one and all, and a big jai to our wonderful Srila Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. A big jai to our wonderful Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Rockok Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. And our big jai to Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. And to Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Sri Rupanunga Guru Vaga ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bo. Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So good to be with each of you. All best wishes, and hoping for your best wishes so that we can continue a few more hours and days in Krishna consciousness.
Srila Bhaktiranjan Madhusudan Maharaj ki
Jai.
jai.
See you all soon. Bye-bye. Got to go. Oh, Shakira, we didn't give you a chance to say anything this week. Next week, you can share something with us. Or next time, Thursday maybe. Dandavat, Dandavat. Jai Gurudev, Jai Guru Maharaj, Jai Gurudev, Jai Guru Maharaj.